Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Jason McKinnon about season 2, part 2 of Firefly Lane, which recently dropped on Netflix. Welcome back to the show, man. It's so good to see you.
Thanks for having me, buddy. Yeah, it's great. You've been killing it. I've been watching you since we last spoke a couple years ago now, and yeah, it's great, man.
I really appreciate that. I'm so happy we're able to do this. I have to say, you know, one of the best things about still having cable is seeing you and Brendan Taylor on commercials on my TV. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, it's one of the best things. You know, you're in like all these commercials. You're in like there's a commercial for I think Chevrolet where you're a referee. Like you show up all the time. Brendan Taylor has an M&M's commercial. He's crushing it in the commercial space.
Yeah, but you trust me. The algorithm on Instagram, every other person I meet, they're like, "You're in my stop showing up on my feed, man." And I'm like, "It's not." So yeah, that's cool. I appreciate it, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, I do want to know before going to it. We were talking about before we started. It's been crazy. You know what I mean? I think the amount of Kleenex boxes that were consumed this week around the world have been like a ridiculous amount, right? I mean, just
it was trending. It's been trending. It's crazy.
It's been trending. I want to know though, for part 2, because I feel like every show is different. How much do you know? Like, did you get a lot of the scripts in advance? Like, how much did you know before shooting the part 2 stuff? I'm just curious about that.
So, I mean, okay. So the first thing is obviously Chris and Hannah wrote the books. They're amazing. Yeah. There's actually 2. There is a follow book, but of course it's adapted, right?
Yes.
So we can only glean so much from the books. Like for example, Sean's character was, I think he made it in 4 pages out of the whole book.
Yeah.
He was only referenced, so that became it. So anyway, long story long, we knew when we got the script, so we knew in advance, and we were able to see what was to come. Mm-hmm. But that being said, honestly, I don't know if that even would have prepared us for this. Not only the reaction from the fans, but the reaction amongst us. Like
it's been crazy. I mean, I like it's been. I mean, part of the gig with Popternative is you got to see what's out there, right, and see everything. And like it's been, like you said, it's trending. It's crazy.
So Ben Lawson, who plays Johnny, literally his stories for several days was just photos of people post sob, tagging him in the show. So yeah, we're like, oh, we're so happy to make you cry. Like, it's a weird feeling. Like, obviously it connected. I mean, like anything, you want it to impact someone. That's like, you don't want a show to just kind of be like, eh. So regardless of how it affected or affecting the audience, that's what you want out of anything, right? Like, so.
What is you mentioned, you know, like 4 pages, Sean, in the book, but like, does it depend on the project when you kind of deal with a project? Because you worked on a lot of amazing, cool projects, and a lot of them have been had like original source material. What is your relationship with source material? Does it depend on the project? Like in terms of the research or anything?
Yeah, 100% depends on the project because honestly, you'll do all this research and then you show up and the director's like, all right, forget everything you know. This is what we're doing. You thought it was a rom-com? It's a monster truck rally. And you're like, you know, like, so you got to be open to it and you got to let it inform you as much as you can. Mm-hmm. But you also got to be, Steve Zahn, the great Steve Zahn, White Lotus fame. And, you know, he works with Tom Hanks, the nicest guy, by the way. He's like, man, don't worry about what you did in the callbacks and with the casting. You know, when you don't know what your character is until you get on set and you're working with the other actors. You know, they inform. And I was at the time I was like, oh, okay, but it's so true. You don't know what this whole thing is until you get there and you see what everybody else is doing. And I really believe in that. So to your point, yeah, you get as much information as you can, but you're open to changing it once you get there on the day.
When did you? I mean, actually, before this, I feel like everyone always kind of learns about their characters all the time. So with you and Sean, like once you kind of were playing him for season 2, did you feel like you were starting to get to know him and be more comfortable with this character? Or did you feel like you were learning still compared to season 1?
You kind of like you kind of just drop into it more.
Okay.
Like you've done it before, and now you're back. It must be like for you, like when you did your first round of interviews, it must have been like, oh, this person's different. And then you just sink into it. I don't know how to explain it, but
totally. Well, when we did the interview of you and Brendan, I mean, at the end of the day, for any viewer, that's like an introduction to the characters. Like, we've never seen your characters before.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. No, and they let us, and I feel like they give you more rope. And they're like, well, where can we go with this guy? And actually, Sean turned out to be like, obviously there's some quite a few dramatic moments in there, but there's some funny stuff in there too.
There's some uncertainty too that I want to talk about as well. Yeah,
of course. But just to answer your question, is like Brendan for the first season playing Mutt was all the comedy. We were joking because it was like we were in two different TV shows. He's always doing like the wackety whack, and I'm like, so this season they gave me some more to play with, and it was cool. Yeah.
It's interesting too, because uncertainty, blurry. I mean, people, it's out there right now. Spoiler alert for people that haven't seen it. There's a good chance if they're watching this interview, they're going to die. They've dived in already or 4 times. I mean, I've seen people said they've watched it like 5-6 times like a row. It's like, why? That's intense to do that to yourself, right? Like that's a lot.
Okay. So, spoiler alert, not a spoiler alert, but like a reveal is, and because I know you mentioned this on our first interview. So I started watching it in LA. We did a little screening there, first episode, and it was like, oh my gosh. And then I went back where I was staying and I started watching them, and my friend, it was just like, not only the content, but like our relationship. It was like, that was it. And I'll be straight up with you. I haven't had the gump whatever to finish it yet. I haven't finished.
You haven't finished it yet.
I know what happens.
But as an actor, that's the weirdest thing, right? Because you know what happens, right?
I know what happens.
Is that always going to be weird? Because I'm sure there's going to be other projects where that happens, where maybe you just don't have the time to watch something because you're working. Like, that's weird, right? Like, knowing what happens but haven't seen the product, like, that's a weird thing.
No, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. And the only reason literally is because of it's just like, it was a special thing, man. When you listen to Sarah talk about it, Sarah Chalk and Katie, Katherine Heigl, like they've been on these huge properties for so long, and they are talking about it like being special. And so I'm like, oh, maybe. And so and plus, not to get old, whatever about it, but my dad had passed a couple years ago, and during the filming, no less. So I'm watching those scenes, and yes, I'm watching those scenes, but I'm also like, so there's a lot wrapped up into it. And I got two kids right now, and like, I don't know if I'm ready to like, so I'll get there. But I applaud everyone who's made it through, because I know it's not easy, man. Like, in terms of like the emotion.
The last 2 episodes too. I mean, you got the scripts for those. I mean, because people are talking about the last episode, but like the second to last one too. And but the reception though has been incredible, right, Jason?
Awesome.
The fans are incredible.
Shout out to the fans, like amazing. Honestly, we could never have imagined this. This is like beyond.
Yeah, it's crazy. I did want to ask you about the blurriness, where for people that have kind of watched it, I was getting to that. That's what I was saying, like spoiler alert and everything. We know a little bit about Sean, but there's a lot kind of left up in the air, right? And it's concluded. What do you think about that from a storyteller? Do you kind of enjoy the possible kind of perspectives and like theories that a lot of these incredible fans can put out? Like, I'm just curious about that, because there is kind of a little bit of these loose ends with Sean that need to be tied up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they discuss it when he has that conversation with Kate at the table there. So I feel like there was enough closure for Sean's character. And one of the amazing writers who wrote, I believe the episode literally was called Coming Out. That was literally the name of the episode. I felt proud that I was able to tell their story, and they emailed, because they were not on location. They emailed and they're like, thank you. And I'm like, I'm just saying what you wrote. But that was kind of cool. That gave it a little bit of like a bow for me personally, being able to like share this person's story. But yeah, I kind of like when things are left a little bit. I like being able to decide for oneself after they've seen it. I don't know. I grew up with the choose your own adventure books, and I got
100%. Yeah.
I love that.
But you know what I mean, though, right? About the little bit of uncertainty and blurriness of Sean a little bit, right? Like, you know what I mean by that.
I mean, in terms of like he talks about it, but it never resolves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone online is all over that. I don't know if have you seen all the stuff online about Sean yet, or you're just
I haven't yet. I've just been go.
After this interview, if you take a look down the road when you can, because again, like I know we're not making it. It's emotional, right? It's emotional.
Yeah.
That storyline is also very emotional, and you did an amazing job, man. I just want to say that.
Brother.
But like, yeah, there's what I'm kind of saying is online too. So you're gonna like watch this interview back and then go online and be like, okay, I get what he's saying now.
Well, I did see something about they were discussing Richard, which was from season 1. What happened to that guy? So Sean's first sort of love, who passes, as they explain in the show. But no, I know. I'm curious. Now I'm
absolutely no. There's a lot of stuff online about that. About the do we know, like, it was one of those characters, like, you want to know more about Sean, you want to know more about like what kind of like what more that was kind of going through his head and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like stuff like that. So I'll let you be the judge of what's out there on Sean, because there is some stuff out there on Sean.
Well, that's cool. Awesome. Well, I mean, obviously I'll see it, but I appreciate even that, you know what I mean? Like, people are invested in the character.
Is that important? If you think about it, it's an important character because it like addresses many, like Firefly Lane, in my opinion, is a TV show that's very popular because it addresses so many different themes if you think about it. And there's a lot, like Sean is involved with a lot of those themes if you think about it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, no,
acceptance,
it's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like it's you know, closure,
acceptance, you know, being true to yourself, or you know, like having those relationships where you're one person with
relationships,
one person.
Friendship. You know, everyone talks about Tully and Kate, but like the whole thing with Sean, like there's friendship there as well, right?
Yeah, like it took. Well, again, spoiler alert. You kind of know what's going to happen with Kate.
They're going to want. I'll put it
took,
in. But
yeah, it took. You know, this. You know, whatever you want to call it. This event for them to actually like talk about their relationship growing up. And I'm sure there's a lot of brothers and sisters, or sisters, brothers, but out there, siblings that can relate to that. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
The storytelling is incredible. It's one of those things too where, you know, and this has always been my opinion about things being adapted from novels and books and source material. I'm always going to like what I feel right now about this, Jason. I'm always going to feel like this. Okay. There are Firefly Lane, the books, and there's Firefly Lane, the series on Netflix.
Yes.
Yes, everyone involved with Firefly Lane, the show, is going to do it justice, and it's going to do certain things. At the end of the day, this is the TV show, and the books. Exactly. Do you agree with me on that?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not Top Gun. It's Top Gun Maverick.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm just saying.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting because the funny part of it is, from a business standpoint, is it's nice to have, if you're looking at creating something, to have a sort of built-in audience. Yep. Now, that being said, as you said, it's a completely different medium, and it's a completely different way of telling a story.
Last of Us, it's not the video game. It's the TV show on HBO.
It's not the video game. That being said, I did love both.
Me too. No, 100%. Me too. But it's like,
but yeah, you cannot compare it. Yeah,
and I feel like people with The Last of Us, I feel like people got it. Like I feel like I saw a lot of things online. Like I feel like people got it. Like
people got it. Yeah. I will say though, shout out to Maggie Friedman, who's the showrunner on this. So I don't know if we discussed in the first interview, but the book is chronological, right?
Yes.
You get, you know,
Firefly,
yeah, again, from people watching, there's Catherine. You wouldn't see Katherine Heigl or Sarah Chalk for like the first season, so that wouldn't work. So what the key to unlocking it all was having the time shift go back and forth, which is obviously a departure from the book. But to your point, it made the most sense for this medium. And I think she did an amazing job.
Because it's the TV show Firefly Lane. It's not the book. I'm very passionate about that. Because
I know. Trust me, I see all the comments, and not even for our show, but any show. You see the comments like, it's not like the book. I'm like, well, no, because it's a show.
It's not the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trust me, I love the audience that we have from the book and getting their perspective. But I've read books before and then gone to see the movie, and it was like this much of the book. And you're like, well, yeah, like it's not the same.
100%. And I do want to ask you, before we wrap up as well, here's the thing.
We got excited about that. I just want to say that was pretty intense. I didn't know that was there for me too. I agree with you. Yeah.
What's also interesting is the fact, the Netflix effect, that like you snap your fingers and then all these like countries get to watch your stuff.
Right.
And the over different time zones will always blow your mind. Like if you were you're in like Vancouver, right? So you're PST or like sometimes. So you're going to wake up in the morning, your time, when like tons of countries have already binged it already. And you're trying to figure out what you're eating for breakfast. And they've like watched it already. That's a crazy feeling, right? The Netflix effect.
They're like, what's next? What's next? What's next? I'm like, well, it hasn't.
I haven't even saw it yet. I
don't know. What do you mean? What's next? This is next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a crazy thing, right? Like the net, like that it just pops on Netflix in so many different countries.
Yeah. I've gotten some really nice messages. Someone wrote me the nicest message in the world. This woman from Brazil. It was so nice, and it was almost spiritual in nature in terms of like this emotion that she had. And I'm like, you don't see that as often here in North America. I feel like it's so, and that's not to say one thing is better or worse than the other. It was just like a different shift, like how much it impacted this person. And it's not just me, it's the whole show. But it was pretty profound. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so beautifully put, and so nice that they reached out. But it's a bit of a trip, man, for sure. I had someone from Germany that was like, they have their own version of Cameo or whatever. They have their own version, and they reached out and they're like, yeah, Jason and Sean and Firefly Lane, and I was like, okay.
It's the reach, it's the power. It's crazy.
Yeah, I will say that has been one of the coolest things for sure, because we've done lots of shows and movies and stuff, but they don't always get seen on a broad scale. Yeah,
totally. And it's the Netflix effect. And if people haven't seen it, season 2, part 2 of Firefly Lane is available worldwide on Netflix. So, I mean, very good chance they have seen it, because I'm noticing that a little bit, and I'm glad we were able to dive in about Sean and everything as well. Jason, so great catching up, man. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
You too, man. And hey, if you're a big horror fan, which I know you are,
I am.
Creep Show later this year. You'll see me make an appearance, and I hope you get a chance to check it out.
Yes, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
I know. I'm gonna be all over that.
I know. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah.
Your Instagram is they just put Jason McKinnon, they'll find it, right?
Jason McKinnon, they'll find it. Yep.
Awesome. Well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative. Previous episodes. You, of course, can catch Jason McKinnon as Sean in season 2 of Firefly Lane, part 2, available now on Netflix. Until next time, so Jason and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.